I always think of India as a jazz note. When I think of music, I think of jazz as notes that fall almost to the edge of the table. Will they fall off? Will they stay on? Will they fall off? India is like that. It's completely magical. You have no idea what you will see next. And therefore, it's difficult to structure, to give you a structured speech. And should you do this? Should you do that? I'm going to talk about food. And in India, we have in Hampi, which are one of those beautiful ruins in India, we have a goddess called Shakambari. And Shakambari was a major goddess who every year, even now, is offered on her birthday. She is offered 63 vegetables. Now, it'd be difficult to find 60 people who know 63 vegetables, but the whole year people get, store up these vegetables in season. Because one of the nicest things about India is that we don't eat out of season. Whatever is available then is the best for us. Now, when a long time ago, I'd gone to Rajasthan, and there is an offering I was given, as lunch. Somebody had made for me, he was the head of SEBI, he had made for me a dish, and when I ate it, I'm vegetarian. I was a bit taken aback because this was clearly meat. And he said, no, this is not meat. This is about 300 years ago. The women, there was a guru who came to Rajasthan and he turned everybody vegetarian for a little while. And then the women were so frightened that their husbands would become non-vegetarian again, that they learnt different ways in which to turn wheat to make it taste like meat. And now it is a dish that takes 2 days to make. But at the same time, it's the most delicious thing going because you don't know, what it is. It's just that it tastes wonderful. All our foods are heritage foods, all of them. They all have provenances that go back 1,000, 2,000 years, the meats or the vegetables. They all have stories around them. For instance, what you treat as a normal herb, tulsi, which is sacred basil for us, it became sacred because in the old days, we used to have, when people went from village to village, they would take a long time to go on the trip because they would go by Belgadi. What is Belgadi? Bullock cart. Yeah, bullock cart. And at night, where should they stay? There were no hotels. So they would stay in mandirs. So if you look at our old temples, they're made in a specific fashion. The god is in the middle, or the goddess. And then there are rooms on the side. Now, of course, they're made differently because there are many, many gods so that they can collect more charhava. But at that time, you stayed in them. Now, at night, you could eat, but all the wells were outside. So when you went out, you might meet a tiger. You might meet a snake. So people didn't go out at night. So how to stay if you felt thirsty? How did you stay in? Suppose you'd finished all the water from your water pot. They planted tulsi, basil, because basil has the magical property of reducing thirst if you put it under your tongue. And slowly, then because basil was found in all the temples, she acquired a goddess status of her own. And she was married off to Shiv, and she had a whole lineage attached to her. So every food of ours has a story behind it, is often sacred, has come down to us from our ancestors. We have trees like the mahua tree, which from the flowers, you can make either grain. You can dry it and make grain so that you can make chapatis. You can make sabzi, vegetable, and eat it with that grain. Or you can make alcohol. And so you can have, just out of the flower itself, you can have a great meal. We have lots of trees like that. We've only got one liqueur in the country, and that's Asha. And that was made by the Rajasthani royals, who used to make it more potent, put dead pigeons into it and leave it for a couple of years so that, and apparently lots of people who go there, now there's secret stashes of it available only. I could go on and on. Each state has its cuisine. Each state, you go from village to village and you're unlikely, if you stayed there for 100 years, you're really unlikely to taste the same food again. There's so much of it, and there's so much of a variety. I just went to a forest festival. I mean, I'm almost 60 years old, and I thought I'd seen everything, which is, of course, a silly thing to say about India. But I went to a forest foods festival brought by the forest dwellers of Madhya Pradesh. And they have sugar made from red flowers. They've never ever tasted sugar beet or sugarcane sugar. It's from these red flowers. They had a vine which was grew alongside the vine with red flowers for sugar, which was used to control diabetes. So they would have this and that. They India is a food paradise. You know, we have one of our royals in Indore has written a book on breads. We have 300 varieties of bread, from the crisp pampuri roti of Kashmir, which you have early in the morning with steaming hot kahwa, which is tea with what you call a badam, almonds, tea with green tea with almonds in it, to the soft milfoy layers of Mangalore, where I spent 2 nights just wallowing in their bread, which is literally like milfoy. I have seen potatoes grow on a vine. I saw it in this forest festival. I'd never heard of potatoes on a vine. We have fruits that no one else has. We have long mulberries and short mulberries. We have a berry called karonda, which comes in season, which is a beautiful rosy red and white. We have jamun, which is a black, huge berry. In fact, India, before we were named Bharat and before we came to be India, we were called Jambu Dweep. And Jambu Dweep means the island of the berry. And it's a white berry called jambu, which now you can only find a few heritage trees in Calcutta, but delicious. We have bear, we have bale. When Dr. Dhiman showed you this, the Ayurvedic slides, the picture that he gave was of bale. Bale is the only fruit in the world which takes care of all your stomach problems. And in fact, if you ever get Delhi belly, that would be the best thing to have. We have rose apples. We have 8,000 varieties of mangoes. The northerners like me look down on South Indian mangoes, and South Indians won't touch North Indian mangoes. We all have the intensely boring Alfonso, which we send abroad because it's so amazing. But we're bored by it because every village you get heritage mangoes. We have a very famous designer in Goa called Wendell Rodrigues. And in his house, he has 500-600-year-old mango trees. And he makes baskets of mangoes and sends them around to the village people that he lives in Goa. And I never tasted those mangoes before. You could spend an entire lifetime. We have one tree in Lucknow which has 1,100 kinds of mangoes on it. They've been grafted onto it. So if nothing else, go to India and look at it. So we have over 1,000 kinds of rice. What we call rajma, which is the red bean, very few people know that we have 225 kinds of just rajma. And now we are turning organic amazingly. I eat in my house, every week we change our rice. So one week we all eat long-grained black rice from Manipur. The next week we eat tiny short-grained rice from Orissa, which smells amazingly. Then we have long-grained red rice from Karnataka. And we have fat, sturdy rice, which there's a law in Kerala you can't take out. So it's smuggled to me by rail. You can go mad with India's food. Every village, is a magical mystery tour. And no matter whether you're vegetarian, if you're vegetarian, you're terribly lucky. Because then you get the best of everything without Delhi belly. But if you eat meat, even then you'll get thousands of varieties, thousands. I would suggest that we package India, since many of you are in the trade here, as we could do food tours, I know so many people who've come and um, written food books on India, which have been amazing without even getting below the surface. Because as I said, you could spend 100 years and not be able to do anything. I know one of my favorite books is by a couple of people who came and wrote on menus of India, where they picked up every bizarre menu, spelt wrong, crazy, which they got in villages, Like, that's right. In Gujarat, we call snacks snakes. So you're most welcome to eat snakes. In Gujarat, they put a bit of sugar into everything. My husband, who's part Gujarati, used to have every day, he had arhar ki dal, which is, we have, so many kinds of dals, lentils. But he used to have, because the UP side of him, because he was half UP, would have 1 katori of arhar dal every day to establish that he was from UP, and he would put 2 spoonfuls of sugar into it for the Gujarati side. So have food tours, have a magical mystery tour. So many things about India are magical. From bamboo round boats that you sit in, which look like hats and are actually boats, and you can go around in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. From caves, from a rock in Karnataka where 13 people, if they put their thumb under it, they can lift it. Otherwise, you can't lift it. And it's huge, it's huge. From, there's a village in Maharashtra, a little tiny village which has nothing except that people who elope can get married there without anybody asking questions. So the place is full of eloping people. You could have religious tours. In fact, a friend of mine just written a book on all the religious places in India, one more fascinating than the other. You could have palace tours, so many palaces, and you could have a massage tour, as our Ayurvedic doctor has just pointed out, from Ananda in the mountains to Kerala. When I walked in, you were talking and you said India's a hot country. Parts of it are hot and parts of it are cold, and you choose what you want when you want it. If you come in summer, you don't have to come to Delhi. You can go to the Himalayas. When you come in winter, you can go to Goa, or you can go to Kerala. You can go anywhere in the south, or the Andamans. So you can go anywhere and get the weather you want, because we have it all at the same time. What I want to point out, which the ambassador has just told me about, and we can't have a better representative for India than the ambassador, because she's so joyous about India. And that's what we need. That 1 million Swedes go to Thailand, and only 35,000 come to India. So there's a huge amount that you can do. And I'm sure that with our new government, with our new, gung-ho attitude, I hope you all will work hard to attract more. Thank you.